And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers today, Trevor Akervik and Josh Froelich. Trevor and Josh are Minnesota Collegiate DECA alum from St. Cloud Technical and Community College. They attended St. Cloud Technical and Community College a decade apart. Collegiate DECA, though, provided them a connection that led to their work together. Trevor is the vice president of Marco, and Josh serves as the technology advisor at Marco. Trevor served as St. Cloud Technical and Community College's student body president and competed in the sales rep event when he was a student. Josh also competed in the sales rep event and took third at nationals. Josh is also a gold medalist for Team USA and current IPSC Shotgun World Champion. Please give a warm DECA welcome to Trevor and Josh.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the intro.
Hello, everybody. We'll pop up PowerPoint deck. Josh and I use this. So what's fun for us is if you're comfortable sharing your video, we like to see people's reactions to the things we're talking about. And then I understand that you also use chat. So we love extemporaneous interactions with people. That's core to what we do every day. So if that works for you, we'll try to keep an eye on that. But we'll go through a few things here that highlight our journey from where you are today to where we are today, and we hope that you'll find that interesting. You know, every time Josh and I make a presentation, we sort of like, what's the one thing or two things that we want you to walk away with? And really, if you take nothing away from today other than Josh and I were exactly where you are today at one point. And if you notice on here, we're just ordinary people. There's nothing extraordinary about Josh or I. We're not the smartest people in any room. We're not the most outgoing people in any room. And we'll hope to share some of our personal journey from the spots that you guys are sitting in today to the spots that we're sitting in today. Josh and I a decade apart from each other, but what did you say, Josh, this morning? You were 10?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. Trevor was referencing, he goes, I started, maybe a little sooner. I was like, I was like 10 years old when you started at Marco. Yeah. Much like many of you, we're probably, 15 years old when I started at Marco. And so it's, a lot of that happens in business is you get connected with folks through networking of some way, shape, or form. You just end up connecting with people, and you end up staying connected, right, throughout your career. And that's how it worked for Trevor and I, and you'll hear his story in a bit as well. One of the things that we thought we'd just kind of kick it off with here today is, I'm an introvert. By my natural tendency is not to be the bubbly one in the room who demands the attention and is the life of the party. That's not me. But when it comes to networking, that's what I thought that networking meant. When I was in school, I was like, I'm not really that guy. I'm not sure that I'd be any good at that. And that's not really what networking needs to be. It's more about just developing relationships, getting to know people that you can help and they can help, people of a like mind, people that think in a similar way, and you work together, and you help them, they help you, and that's what good network of people really means. So me, hardcore introvert, if there's a big group of people that I don't know, I'm not super comfortable in that environment, but I've had a terrific run of building a super strong network over my years. So it can be done. Normal people, not the life of the party, but still extensive business networks.
Yeah, so pay attention today throughout this and make some notes too. We'd love to hear the things that you fear or the things that you've been conditioned to think, and we'd love to maybe bust those myths a little bit as we go along. But you know, we laughed this morning, and nobody cares what our titles are here at work, but you know, we felt it's more important for you to know who we are as human beings, and so we'll spend a little bit more time on that.
Yeah. So I'm just a family guy, an athlete, a sportsman, a person that really enjoys a lot of different areas in life, right? And so graduated Sauk Rapids High School right up in St. Cloud area. And originally I wanted to be a doctor of some sort. Wasn't quite sure what that meant, but started investing time and energy in healthcare facilities, doing volunteering, just trying to get a feel for what that career path would look like. Didn't really enjoy it. You know, and so ended up having a general in sales and marketing over at the tech college, and Becky Shand, who was one of my instructors, was like, unless you're serious about this healthcare thing, you better be a sales guy because you've got it. You should. This is what you should do. And so, you know, that's how my path was steered in this direction. So, ended up graduating with sales and management degree from St. Cloud Technical and Community College, and now I've worked at Marco for about 10 years. I've got a little side business of my own as well. Live on a farm out here in Pine City, and by farm I mean a managed like hunting property. We don't have livestock, and I don't like do that stuff, but we've got a big beautiful chunk of acreage that we host guests that come out and do cool hunts with us, and we put hunts on TV and do a lot of cool different things out here. So just kind of, you know, living our dream. Wife, 2 daughters, son, and my little black lab who is turning into a heck of a hunting dog. And outside of work and business, I'm into health, fitness, outdoors, hunting, fishing, and competitive shooting events. And that's me in a nutshell.
Well, and that's Josh has evolved over the time I have known him since 2010 as well, and so but he's a cool guy and has got a lot of interesting things. You know, my story's not really that different. Josh graduated from Sauk Rapids. I graduated from Royalton, so there's probably, you know, at the time I graduated, 800 people that lived in Royalton, and if you've ever traveled from some of your places up towards the Brainerd Lakes area, you might know Royalton because of either 1, the Dairy Queen, or 2, Treasure City, or 3, the stoplight, the one stoplight in town that would be maddening. And that's Royalton in a nutshell. You know, what's interesting about which was a technical college at the time Josh and I attended, is that I was traditional in the sense that I attended right out of high school, but I only lasted a semester. And initially I was in the computer science, computer programming field. And it was very evident to me in that first semester that my attention deficit disorder was not going to play well sitting behind a computer screen coding all day. And so I retreated back to regular life and found a job, hourly job, and did that for a year. And I didn't reemerge back into the technical college until a year after that. And so it was sort of one of those situations where I was making good money, but I just sort of had this feeling or sense that what was good money at that time was not going to be a future for me. And so I'm not quite sure how I got into the sales and management program, but it sure was a lifesaver that I did. And, you know, we'll talk about the path from there to where I am today. But today I live in Sartell. We've been in Sartell for 20 years. My wife, 2 daughters. One of my daughters is a sophomore at Arizona State University. That's where you see the first 2 pictures there. And then I have a junior in high school in Sartell as well. And then we have newly acquired 2 small ankle biter Yorkies, and they they're a big part of our family as well. And so, outside of Josh and I 70 hours of work each week, which we thoroughly enjoy. For me, I was an avid runner until I hurt myself, and now I'm an avid Pelotoner, and so I do that. And then because one of my daughters is halfway across the country, we do a lot of traveling. And then her and I are looking to start a business while she's in college. So putting my experience to use to help her gain her knowledge. So now networking. So this isn't going to be a normal presentation. It's really going to be our journey, and we hope that you see some of the visual cues as we talk about our journey, and you'll see the just the ordinary people in our story. And both of our stories really start with my story because it's an evolution. And the gentleman that you see in the red shirt is our 37-year CEO of Marco. And dating all the way back to 1997 when I was at the technical college, I somehow got into DECA. And the sales program was wonderful at promoting all of the benefits of DECA, almost as an expectation, and that's the first time you get pushed outside of your normal comfort zone. But even further than that, some early confidence got me connected with student government, and somehow I ended up being the president of the student body, which then gave me a seat with the faculty and staff at the technical college. And so you got to see business happening real time. And if any of you that are from the St. Cloud technical system, you know that there's no workout facility. And so, but the YMCA was literally across the parking lots, still is essentially. And so many of the student fees that we were charging to be a student at the technical college were going to a relationship to allow the students to use the YMCA as a workout facility, as part of being a student. There was a great advantage. Jeff Gow, our CEO, our Marco CEO, was volunteer chairperson of the YMCA. Lots of nonprofits have volunteer chair positions and volunteer organizations within them. So my job as the student body president of the technical college was to negotiate the contract with the YMCA for the student use as their workout facility. That's where I met Jeff. And one afternoon in September 1997, my job was to go negotiate with that guy right there, someone who had a lot more business experience than I did. And it was interesting. It was a pretty easy negotiation, given that what we negotiate today. But we were walking out of the building to the parking lot that evening, and he's like, I was really impressed with the way that you approached this, and being such a, at that time, a young individual, you should really consider coming to work for Marco and selling furniture. And I'm like, oh, Jeff, I really appreciate that, but I don't think there's any chance I want to ever sell furniture. And he was his unique self, and he's like, well, that's fine. If you don't want to make any money, that's up to you. And that was sort of that. I was on a different journey for a period of time, and so our paths didn't cross again for 2.5 years from that time, that direct conversation in terms of a Marco relationship. And so 2.5 years later, I was underfulfilled in the roles that I had acquired post-graduating from the technical college. They were selling jobs, but not those that really applied skills of the art of selling or helping customers find answers to their questions. It was more of you have a sales title, but it was more of a bid desk, or you work with middle people and you're not really selling, you're just sort of fulfilling. And that wasn't fulfilling to me. I wanted that interaction with people understand the problems and the challenges they were faced with, and then apply solutions to them. And so I came back to Jeff 2.5 years later. I called him up because of our connection through that time. I felt comfortable enough. The barrier, the fear of him being a CEO of a growing organization wasn't there, and he was just a person because we had talked and met. And I said, you remember when we met in the parking lot? And of course he did. And I said, I think you were right. It might be time for me to consider, something different for my future. And you may or may not have something at Marco, but would you be willing to just share a little bit more about that with me? And he's like, absolutely. And he gave me the time of a meeting. Jeff didn't ultimately hire me. He was, at that point, moved into the role as president. He wasn't yet our CEO until 2003. And so he connected me with some other then leaders in our company. And I didn't get a better or more unique role. I got the same role that any other person coming off the street were, but I had an opportunity with an upside to it. And so I took a risk coming to Marco because at the time, and I'll share this with you, I was being paid $33,000 a year. I had a company vehicle. But if I was still at that place today, 20 years later, I'd be making $42,000 a year and would probably have been on my 6th company car. Nothing extravagant. And so I was making 33. I didn't have a car payment because they provided me one. Marco offered me $25,000 to come to work for them and no company car. Here's the part about taking risks. That this is gives me goosebumps sharing this story with you. But I had we'd just been married for a few years. My oldest daughter, who now is in college, was less than 1 year old. And we had just purchased our first house. Again, nothing extravagant on a $33,000 salary. And Marco's offering me $25,000, and I had to go buy a car. So here's how challenging that decision was. I couldn't afford a car. So fortunate for me, I found a situation where a car dealership was offering no interest, no payments for 1 year. So that was my only choice. So I elected to buy a car that I didn't have to make any payments for 1 year. So any of you that understand depreciation, a vehicle is about the worst thing you could do. You could buy and not make a payment for 12 months. So I really had to make a decision that at that time, I had to go hard at this for what I gave myself 2 years. And I wasn't going to look back. I wasn't going to ask questions. I was going to be concerned. It just was $25,000 with an upside of commissions based on how well I did. So I was in control of everything. That's what I liked. Never had that opportunity before. But I had never had any proven track record before in that capacity. So it likely I was very nervous. And so that was my start. That was my start at Marco. And then sometime later, Josh and I met, and he was in a similar situation, much like the situation most of you are probably in. And Josh was better than me in that sense, though, because we were offering a scholarship for DECA, and he was very convicted that he was going to earn that scholarship because, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Josh, he sort of was convinced he wanted to work at Marco, and so come hell or high water, he was going to get some attention.
Yeah. So we talk about those introverted networking techniques, okay? So for me, the way that I'm able to network successfully because of the way that I am is I have to have goals. So if I'm going to walk into a room with a bunch of people that I don't know, I have to have goals. I want to know who's going to be there. I want to know if I see them as potentially being able to help me, and then I try to figure out how I could help them. So that's how I network. And so early on, when I first was getting into sales, I got out of the chasing the healthcare thing because of Becky's good advice. And she goes, hey, now you got to get a little bit of sales experience. I was like, where do I go? Like, what's the go-to sales gig, like the good sales gig in town? And she goes, you got to go to work at Marco. I was like, Marco, what do these guys do? And she goes, they do tech. She goes, all kinds of different technology. Like, that's the future. Go do tech. I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about computers. I don't know any of that stuff. But I did a bunch of research, figured out that I did want to be at Marco because of the upside, because of the potential career path, all of that stuff. Found out they were going to be doing a scholarship for the DECA, the regional winner was going to get a scholarship to go to state. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go win that. So I'm going to work really hard on my presentation, work really hard, get this thing dialed in so that I win it, so I can meet these Marco guys, and so that I can get this thing rolling. And so did that, won the regional event, and then Trevor had sponsored that along with another rep at the time. And those guys were busy that day or whatever, so they didn't make it to the award ceremony. And so I was devastated for the day. And, and Becky's like, well, what are you going to do about it? You know, like, it's on you, it's not on them. And so I'm like, it is on me. I'm like, all right. So got a suit on, college kid, went over to Marco, cold called Marco and asked for Trevor. And I was like, hey, I'm the guy that won the scholarship that you put up for the DECA competition. And he's like, oh, come on in. You didn't have to put a suit on for this. I was like, yeah, I did, because like, this is a big deal. So I came in, talked with Trevor, talked with Jim, the other rep at the time that had sponsored the event, and knew right then that there was an interest, a mutually beneficial interest between Marco pursuing me as a potential rep, and I certainly had interest in working for Marco. And so that was one of those little opportunities, right, where, I could have very easily just, accepted the fact that they were busy that day, didn't make it in, and considered it for the rest of my life, been like, yeah, those guys didn't care, until I'm in my $42,000 job, with the company car 10 years later. So thank goodness I didn't do that, because I just knew where I wanted to go with this thing. And so you just pursue it. I had an open invitation or a reason to network with Trevor and Jim at Marco, and so I made sure that I took and captured that.
So here's the key thing about networking. I presume each of you have a best friend, right? Or a group of close friends. At some point in your life, you didn't know those people, right? So networking is really no different than building friendships that you have today. You found something made you cross paths with someone, and you both identified you had a mutual interest or personalities that were similar to each other. That is no different in business networking, okay? It is definitely not about being the smartest, and it's sometimes even a little bit of dumb luck, but not in the sense that if you're involved in these things or you put yourself in these situations, you can naturally find some connections. And it's about, Josh and I's network today wasn't what it was when we started, okay? So things build on each other. So also don't put so much pressure on yourself to think you need to have answers to things. People are in business are genuinely just curious about people. Jeff was curious about the little interaction he had with me to want to explore my personality further. Same with me and Josh. And so just understand your natural strengths and just put yourself in those situations. You're going to be your biggest barrier to these things for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think most people, myself included, didn't realize when they were in college or just getting out of college is most business professionals met someone that was a stage ahead, that was a successful business person that helped them out at some point or got them into business, or one way or shape or form, someone networked with them to help them along in their career. And so a lot of successful business people, they're looking for a go-getter to help out. Like, when that opportunity presents itself, and somebody who's sharp and hardworking is looking for, you can tell is looking for a next step. Guys like Trevor and myself are usually pretty excited to help point them in the right direction or make an introduction or do things like that because someone did that for us, right? And that's very common actually in the business world, stuff like that. So you don't have a huge ask, right? When you want to go meet people that are successful business people, that's not a big ask. You're not asking for much.
And all of you have already made at least one first step. You're here, right? You're involved in DECA. You're in some type of leadership capacity, which means you stepped out on a little bit of a ledge to put yourself out there beyond the rest of your peer group that are just simply participating in DECA. So that's where it starts, is that you will find confidence through participating in DECA, through participating in a leadership capacity, which will put you in connection with these other people here in this meeting that you didn't previously know or meet and are participating in similar experiences at other technical and community colleges across the region. Be intentional about being curious. Find someone that goes to one of the other colleges and make a connection. That may serve you the rest of your life, the rest of your adult life. You never know. But you're involved, so stay involved. It will definitely lead you down the right path.
Mentorship's one of those things that you never really know who your mentors are going to be until you go through life a little bit, right? So like if I were to have on the front end of my career been like pointed my finger at a couple people that I thought were going to be mentors, they didn't end up necessarily being that because other people impacted me more. And so kind of making sure that you surround yourself with people that you either learn and get to know through some kind of a networking, even at your gig, once you line up your career, people around you that basically you want what they have, or you think they're doing things right, or you want to emulate that type of behavior, that type of success. Like the mentor relationships, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute, end up being key to developing who you are in business as you get into business and as you move forward.
Yeah, and here's something really important that you can control is, determination of the circle of influence that you allow around you. Focus on positivity, right? Business is all about solving problems. And if you were a half empty, or the people around you are half empty people, it's like, well, we can't solve that problem. It's never going to be possible. You're not going to naturally rise through any organization that way. Organizations are looking for people that seek problems to be solved and find creative ways to solve complex things. For me, as an example, many of the roles I've had at Marco in my 20 years are those that nobody else wanted to do. Meaning there wasn't a line of people clamoring to go, hey, you know what, I want to go do that thing nobody's ever done before. That seems really hard. But that's where people like Josh and I were like, oh, I will, we will. And so your circle of influence is more important than people give it credit for. And we are definitely derivatives of good fortune, of people focused on solving problems. These are just a small listing of people that are our mentors. Mike Amberg happened to be the individual that hired me. Mike works for me now, okay? And so our roles have shifted, but he is still number one for me in the lessons he taught me in the time that I had with him. And it was some really indelible and some really difficult lessons. He's a hard ass. And he is a wonderful human being, but as my manager, he was really hard on me in a good way. Dedication, focus. If you want to be successful in this business, you have to grind it out. There is no easy path to success. And the sooner you get yourself conditioned to hard, the more, and this is for any of you as well. Think about it in this way. You want to rise above, so you have to do things other people aren't willing to do. Josh and I are both examples of those things, and so you naturally stand out by the things you're willing to accept. Grinding it out really meant getting used to doing things other people aren't willing to do regularly, okay? So just that statement is really important. Then Don was one of my other mentors. Don is actually a paid consultant for Marco, who I met at the technical college when her and I were volunteering for the sales and management advisory program. She caught my attention because of the creativity she brings to problem solving, without positive or negative. Too much positive or negative emotion can play bad for all of us. And so those were some really indelible things that those two individuals shared with me. And Josh, I know your two are really important to you as well.
Yeah, for sure. So Becky was a huge one. And originally she bugged me because she wanted me to change, she was like selling me on sales. And I'm like, who is this lady and why is she trying to talk me out of being a doctor? Like, I'm going to go do this thing. She's like, if that's for you, do it. But otherwise you can crush it at this thing. And so, I think more than anything, she just got me to open my eyes and she goes, okay, just take the one sales and marketing class that you have, take it seriously all semester, and just don't just show up, just crush it in this class and just see if it sticks, see if it works. And after that, I was like, all right, what else should I do? Because that was a good idea. And I still connect with her a little bit now and then, and still talk to her now and then. The other one was Eric Castile, and he was never my boss. I've never worked for Eric. I've never been on his sales team. I've never worked for the people that work for Eric. We were in totally different lines of business within Marco. But when I started, I was in a little cube out in the main office making cold calls all day. I was on the phone, and I was trying to figure out what this professional sales thing was all about. Really, I was trying to figure out my sales strategy, how I was going to act, how I was going to sell, all that stuff, right? And Eric sat in a big office at the time, I thought, and he just talked like a normal guy. And everybody calls him Big Deal Castile because he has the biggest customers, or did have the biggest customers. And in the time, it was in the Twin Cities where we had no customers. We were small potatoes in the cities, but he had all the big customers. And he was a normal guy. He didn't sound like a car sales guy. He didn't have some slick pitch. He just talked to people and related to people, and you could tell people liked him. I liked him. Everybody liked this guy. He was just a normal guy. And that really gave me permission, sitting outside of his office, to just be a normal guy. I didn't have to have some shtick, some sales thing where, I had to mold my personality. I'd just be me, and I'd just talk to people. And him doing that successfully right in front of me for the first 6 months of my sales career allows me to just have conversations, help people solve business challenges with tools. And because of that, I've had an extremely successful sales career, because he just taught me that I could be me. That's it. And it's a pretty neat lesson when you're getting into your career, to just have somebody that is a normal person that crushes it, that you're like, okay, I can do that too.
And you know what? Josh and I work our asses off. But we never stop having fun. And that's the glass half full thing, is that embrace challenges as opportunities to learn something new. And it can be fun. Work can be fun. For 20 years, I've been having fun, but God dang it, it's hard. And a lot of that has to do with people like Josh that are naturally within our ecosystem, but every organization has that. And, you know, you, like Josh says, just leverage who you are. Don't try to be something you're not, because that comes across quite easily. And, you know, don't overbill your abilities, but look for those opportunities to stand out. Just like you raised your hand for a leadership role in DECA, just where you are today. So we already know that you have it within you to do that. And then when you're networking with people, just like when you built your friendship with your friend group, you just were being you. And you'll find those that you kind of go, yeah, I don't know that I want to continue networking with you. We don't have anything in common. But then go find someone else. That's sort of the fun in the game. But you do have to condition yourself to habits. You can't mail it in business.
Yeah.
Or in life. You just can't.
And that relationships real piece, conversations real piece, that really helps when you're both passionate about similar things. So if you're getting into something with the goal of networking, my suggestion would be pick something you're passionate about, right? Like early on in my career, I had a lot of relationships at church. I leveraged those relationships and I had great business contacts there. As my career progressed, I'm a member of different hunting groups and like shoot sporting clays with folks, and you know, like I have similar interests. So even if we're not talking about business, I'm enjoying their company and vice versa. And so it just becomes super easy to have these people as a business contact too, because we're friends. We share a lot of common interests. And so those conversations are real. They're not forced. We're just hanging out. Oh, by the way, I can help you in your business too. That works.
So you will never meet more ordinary people than Josh and I. Whereas at the time we were sitting in your chairs, there was nothing unique about us that would make you seek us out. But we have been fortunate in Josh's 10, 11 years at Marco and my 20 years at Marco to do some extraordinary things. And it is all because of the story we just shared with you, is these little things along the way. And every time you grab a new challenge, it gives you confidence and conviction to step forward the next time. And you build a catalog of those instances in your life and your career. You then at some point realize how much learning you have accomplished. And in our cases, Marco has benefited by our learning because we're supplied towards solving their problems and our problems. And then you see the customers and other employees find happiness in the outcomes that you helped create. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. It's not Herculean anything. It's getting up early, staying up late, and building conditioning within yourself to do that for decades. And
learn to love it.
Find the joy, to find the joy in the grind.
Yep. That's what it's really about for me is enjoying. I enjoy the grind. I mean, I'll get a win, like a big win, like something that you would, some people would take the rest of the week off kind of thing. And I'm right back on the phone because I'm like, ooh, that was good. I want some more of that. Like, and you just learn to love that work, that hustle, to the point where when I'm not at work, I'm still working. I'm just, I'm working on my own business. Trevor's helping his daughter with a business. Like, at a certain point, you learn to just love it, and it comes through consistent effort.
And you know what's also really unique about ordinary people is Josh and I don't thrive on people highlighting us. We thrive on solving problems and getting other people wins. Yep, yep, there are times in my 20 years where I have felt like people didn't appreciate the amount of effort that went into the win, and that maybe there should have been more recognition in that. But that's part of being a good human being as well, is understanding that it's not always about you. It's not always about me. It's about the greater good. And that's easy to say. It's really hard to live, I'm telling you. But, and for me, it's a work in progress every day, because, you know, I have coworkers, but in some ways they're competitors, because, you know, we're all looking to do good things for our organization and for our customers. And so you can be a good human being and not have any unique, extraordinary element to you other than hard work and dedication.
Hey guys, I don't want to interrupt you because I've been listening to you for about 42 minutes, and everything you guys have been saying, I want to say I appreciate it very greatly. I'm 20 years old, and it doesn't make me emotional, but I'm on my way waiting for a train to literally go do my part-time cashier job. And so I just want to say thank you very much. So, I don't know why. It feels like I'm listening to like a motivational podcast on the way to my job. So I greatly appreciate it. So,
yeah, crush it at your gig, you know.
But
yeah, and Abby, you know what? That's what we set out to do. Is we're just real people, and we've just traveled some of the journey that you're all going to travel. And again, if you walk away with one thing, is going, if these two guys can do it, you for sure can do it.
Yeah, that's true. Right. That's true. But it felt like, and I was like, I'm listening to this live. I could actually thank them for what they're saying to us right now. So thank you, because that's so cool. I don't mean it's like half the time you guys are probably on Zoom calls and you're like, is anybody getting anything out of this? And I got more out of the last hour than I've gotten anything out of all day, and I've been working since 7 o'clock. So thank you again.
You're very welcome.
Everybody have a great day. I gotta go.
See ya.
So this is only going to be good if we have some interaction, because we thrive on interaction. And we're not opposed to calling on people.
I'll try and get the ball rolling, guys. So I think Josh specifically talked about this. You talked about how he is an introvert and how that makes networking a little bit different than how people assume. Because I remember growing up, and as I was at DECA conferences or in those networking kind of scenarios, you definitely felt like you had to be an extrovert for that to be something that you're good at. So do you want to kind of highlight again why that maybe isn't necessarily the case? Because I know that that's something I definitely struggled with just growing up and just being around large groups of people.
Sure. So those are still a challenge. Let me just be clear. You know, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, can't wait. I wanna get in a room of 100 people and tell them what I do, and that's still not super comfortable for me. With that said, when I go into a room like that, there's usually about 20% that are just like me, that are kind of hanging out on the edge, that are I'd be willing to get in a conversation, but I don't know if I really want to go bust that group of 6 or 7 people standing over there and take that thing over. And so you'll find a couple people around the edge of the room that they're totally willing to engage, but maybe they haven't yet. That's my people. I'm going to go over there and get that conversation started. And I'll dig in a little bit there, have a totally comfortable conversation. Again, no fake stuff. I'm just, hey, what do you do? What are you into? What are you hoping to get out of the event? Just talking about real conversation. And now all of a sudden the other parts of the room are coming over to you. Okay, now I'm golden, right? Because they joined us. So that's my general strategy. Talk about 100 people in a room. 20% are going to be just like me, trying to force it. 10% are really going to be on the edge, and I'll go hang with them. And the rest of the room will come to us.
Well, look at just on this call, Zach, just the fact that you brought that out. Obviously, Josh and I shared that we're more naturally introverts than extroverts. So we got 10 people, 30% of the people on here that have actually proclaimed that are in the same boat. So don't think of it in terms of you against the group. How about you assume that the group feels just like you? So doesn't that take the barrier of approachability down? So that's the way I look at it. So for me, I don't love the process of being on the edge of the room and finding my way to the middle. I tell myself that the middle feels like I felt. They just have found their peeps. And so what I'll do, which takes every part of my being to do, is I'll go stand next to the biggest table. And I'll stand there awkwardly for a little bit and just go, I'm in, so something's going to happen here. And it oftentimes you find that you are your biggest detriment. You notice that last visual we had, the first step is the biggest. Every step after that is just incremental. That's what it's about.
Nice. Two totally different strategies. I would say we both are pretty effective in that environment, and neither of us are super comfortable there. So you can still be you, no matter what you're doing, and make it work.
So Samantha and Michelle put themselves out there by being on video. So, and I can, there you go, Matt. Thank you. I can see that. Hey, by the way, when we do work, we're all working remotely now too because of COVID. So we meet people's dogs. We meet their young kids that are coming in the room screaming as we're having a meeting. That happens when we're with clients. So don't feel like because we're in business that you've got to impress us. It impresses us when you're on video. So Samantha, Michelle, the only faces besides Zach's that I could be watching and gauging reactions to. What's gone through your head?
Probably just the human connection of not so robotic, and actually how you introduced yourself was the biggest thing. Because each of you had your own thing. You mentioned ADD, and then Josh is hunting and different stuff, and I have the connection with both of those.
Cool.
One thing that I really liked you guys talking about was definitely Josh talking about being able to hunt and being able to talk about what you're passionate about. I just feel like when you're in a business setting, you have to be completely suit and tie, completely focused. But like you guys are saying, you really have to forge a connection to be able to be a successful salesman. And just being able to talk about what you're passionate about is just something that, really is something that, with Abby, what she said, it's very motivating to hear is that you're still able to go to these hunting clubs and do all these things as well as talk about what you love with clients. And it's just really cool to hear that as a successful story.
Yeah. I mean, some people want to get down to business, and you can read that too. But what I'd say is, people that are in business together want to know the people they're in business with. Okay. Like if I'm doing business with a client, they could be the CEO of a 1,000-person company, and I'm just going to talk to them like I'm talking to you. We're going to have a good conversation, and I'm going to get to know them a little. They're going to get to know me a little, and we're going to do business, but also just get to know each other as we're going through the process, and we're feeling each other out. So the more you can be you, during that process, the better, because you know how it is when somebody's, putting up a facade. Like, you can read right through that. So can a professional business person. So it's just being you. Yep. Polished a little bit, depending on the situation, but yeah.
Matt, you brought up something that I want to extract here that's really important for the group. Your appearance just needs to not be a barrier for the reason why somebody wouldn't engage with you. But like we said earlier, you don't have to be someone you're not, okay? Your appearance just can't be the reason why somebody won't or will be afraid to engage with you. Okay. So there is some thought that goes into that. But again, being who you are can still be there. Just don't make that a barrier. That's really important.
I can add to that. So I wear, every time I meet someone new, I wear a long sleeve button up shirt, but I'm completely sleeved out. I'm tatted like crazy, and keep a big beard, and like I'm still me. But if you've never met me before, the first time we have a business meeting, I'm all buttoned up, but still me. As we get to know each other a little bit more, the tattoos start coming out, and like that barrier's gone, like Trevor referenced, and now I'll let him in a little bit more. But yeah, I don't let that stuff become a barrier to having a good conversation without them making a prejudgment before we get a relationship built. Good point.
I have a question. So you guys talked about learning to love the grind. What advice do you have for students or like graduate, like just out of school graduates, like starting their first job, they're experiencing burnout, and like, you know, maybe they used to love the grind or they just are never been that person that did, like, what advice do you have for them?
Josh, I'm going to kick this one over to you, but I'm going to set you up a little bit. So
okay.
Josh is a high-performing sales individual in our company. And he has another life, job, and passion that he is deeply engaged in. And I'll give him a plug. At the end, Josh, you got to give them your, so they can follow you on Instagram. You got to check Josh out. He's a super interesting guy. But Josh is a high performing in both things he does. And so I'll let him say, but I bet he talks about passion.
Yeah. So for sure, you have to love what you're doing. You know, like I absolutely love helping clients. It's part of the reason that, so my journey led me to management for a little while. And then I realized I wasn't as passionate about managing people as I was about helping clients. And so I started to burn out, like you're talking about. I mean, burn out, like not want to come to work. And that was foreign to me. That was new to me. But I absolutely felt that way and had to shift my direction a little bit and try to figure out what it was about the new gig or where I lost it. And I was no longer directly engaged with the problem solving and the client. That's what I really enjoy. So I have passion for that thing. I have passion for the shooting sports and my shooting consulting business. And so in both of those areas, like those are the things I dream about. Like if I'm not doing it, like I'm that excited about it. And then beyond that, I truly, the shooting thing and all of that was originally just my escape. But it turned into a business. So like, I believe that you have to have this, you know, crazy grind in your career to be successful, but then you have to have something else that allows you to totally forget about all of the things that you work so hard on all day long for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, whatever that is. Maybe it's a workout, maybe it's your gym session, maybe it's music, maybe whatever it is. But I need that, like, okay, shift, time out, doing something different to just give my mental a break from whatever that was. And for me, that was a mental break from Marco for a short time period, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour a day after work to go do this other thing that allowed me to stay fired up about the things that I was excited about. So for me, that's how it is. I make sure I keep it pointed in a direction that I'm passionate about, and then I find escapes from that that allow me to just kind of shift focus and concentrate on something else for just a little bit, so I can come right back and still be passionate about it the next day.
Yeah, and mine's not that different. It's exercising and volunteering. Those are the things that peel me out of here. But one of the things Josh said that he executed really well, which is really hard, and most people can't do that because they sort of have this mental barrier that, and this is about being who you are. Josh didn't get any pleasure on being a manager, right? He got pleasure on solving problems, and it's hard for people to come to that personal realization, and 2, to make the decision to stay focused on what follows their passion. And that's hard. That's hard to do. It really is. For me here at Marco, I think I've had a fortunate path. I like solving really hard problems, and so I have had the opportunity to be put in front of situations that nobody else wanted to solve. And so I just sort of get left alone to solve them. And fortunate for me, I have solved a bunch of them, and they've led to things that the organization has flourished from. And so that sort of perpetuates my path here. But Michelle, it's a really good question. If your work is your passion, it won't feel like work. If it is work, where's your release? And you have to have some balance there.
Yeah. And one note. So like I sell technology solutions. So I sell like outsourced IT, I sell our help desk service. I sell like servers and switches and wireless, and I am not excited about any one of those solutions. But what I'm excited about is, like, I'm not a tech guy, but what I'm excited about is helping clients run their business more effectively. So like, I don't get lost in the weeds that I'm not selling something in the shooting sports, even though I'm passionate about that, because I still am passionate about helping clients get better at running their business. So it doesn't matter that the computer that I sold 100 of yesterday, I'm not nerded out on that computer and think it's the greatest thing ever, but I know it'll solve a business challenge for this company. And so I'm excited to help sell them that, right? And so it doesn't necessarily have to be you're selling, if you're in sales, the thing that you're passionate about, as long as you really enjoy the path to problem solving and helping the customer, so that's what gets me fired up. And so I could sell anything as long as I really believed that it was helping the client.
Thank you, guys.
Now, I want to be respectful of everyone else's time. So if you have any additional questions for Trevor or Josh, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for joining us today. Remember to join tomorrow at 3 o'clock for our officer roundtable for the last session here. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. And once again, thank you to Trevor and Josh again for joining us. Everyone else, have a good rest of your day and feel free to stick around if you'd like.
And Josh, can you just give a quick shout out of your Instagram so people can check you out?
Well, you just search Josh Froelich online. You'll see all my shoot stuff. Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, anything else, websites. I just like guns.
I promise you.
Yep.
It's great to meet all of you. If our paths never cross again, good luck in your life journeys.
Yeah, you guys too.